Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is messy, messy, messy. What's up, you guys? It's Jonathan Carter, and today we are going to be talking about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.
I need you to trust me. One last time.
The day has come leading up to watching every single Mission Impossible movie. We have worked our way up to the latest and potentially last entry in the franchise, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. If you have not been following along with my Road to series, I have been reviewing each Mission Impossible weekly leading up to this newest entry. I'll tag it somewhere up here to go check out that playlist of all 7 other Mission Impossible movies. And before we jump into this, working through the Mission Impossible movies weekly leading up to this one, I have to say the franchise has been a bit of a mixed bag. While I've really enjoyed some of the movies, I've also really disliked a lot of the other movies. So the quality in the franchise, the Mission Impossible franchise, kind of dips in entries. Like, you're not really sure what you're gonna get. Hi, buddy. And before we jump into this review, please be sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Spotify if you like podcast versions of reviews. And without further ado, let's jump into the review. So, like I said right at the beginning of this review, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is incredibly messy. My critiques for The Final Reckoning are basically the same critiques I had as Dead Reckoning. So, if you don't know, Dead Reckoning was originally and is still kind of titled Part 1, and The Final Reckoning originally was supposed to be titled Dead Reckoning Part 2. So, with that being said, it really makes sense that The Final Reckoning just feels like a continuation of Dead Reckoning. Like, together, they just feel like a 6-hour-long movie cut into 2 parts. So the same problems persist from Dead Reckoning, where it's an incredibly convoluted plot that doesn't really make any sense, and you can tell that this movie, The Final Reckoning and Dead Reckoning, were set around giant set pieces. Like, by that I mean giant action pieces of, like, Tom Cruise wanted to be on the outside of a plane like he did in Rogue Nation and kind of in Fallout. They had this giant submarine set up to work into this film that's like at the heart of this movie, kind of the same thing with Dead Reckoning. And then there's some other action scenes throughout this movie as well, like what this franchise has become known for. But with Dead Reckoning and The Final Reckoning, the movies were written around, they figured out the action set pieces first and then decided to write the plot around those action set pieces.
Not a great plan.
While The Final Reckoning does look incredible, like, don't get me wrong, from a cinematography, like, movie making standpoint, the movie looks beautiful. There's no, like, easy to tell CGI here. Like, every shot is perfect. It's like grand in scale. Tom Cruise is still pulling off these stunts just as well as he did 15-20 years ago. But this one, just as much as Dead Reckoning, feels like instead of Ethan Hunt and his IMF team solving issues, this feels like Tom Cruise wanting to make an action Mission Impossible movie with these crazy stunts, and his IMF team, Ethan's IMF team, just feels like stand-in interchangeable characters that literally do change who's with Ethan depending on the scene. So it's really disappointing for a potential last entry in a giant 8-movie franchise that has spanned almost 30 years. It's really frustrating that the movie, that the Mission Impossible franchise kind of perfected its formula with Ghost Protocol into Rogue Nation into Fallout, and then these last 2 big finale entries are just duds and really a mess and undo a lot of what those 3 movies did for this franchise, even though this is the same writer and director and team as Rogue Nation and Fallout. And the same issues persist of, let's have an awesome action fight sequence, but let's make it humor where Grace, one of the IMF agents, is watching it happen and she's wincing and ooh while you hear noises and knives or whatever flying around, like it's like a Three Stooges kind of act, instead of what we got in Fallout, which is like really intense, that bathroom sequence or just all of the fighting choreography in Fallout, Rogue Nation. And while you do get later on in the movie, like the back half of the film, you do get really great action fight choreography here in this movie. I don't know why the movie is trying to do both of what the franchise has never done before and just make it humor and just fill it with funny moments instead of just playing it direct, like with great action stunt choreography, what these movies are known for and what they can still pull off even in this same movie. So while there are things to love about this film and it does get stronger in the back half, the first half of this movie is all exposition. It's, we need to get Ethan to this place because this submarine can do this, but he needs this key because over here this key does this, but then if we bring him back here and Benji, you go over here and solve this contraption because this contraption is going to lead us over here. And it's every scene almost in the beginning of this movie for the first 90 minutes is like that, where scenes don't cohesively, like they don't make sense, they don't fit with each other. You'll see the same exact problem with Dead Reckoning. The team will be in one place and then all of a sudden Ethan's over here and then Benji and Grace are on a plane with some two standing characters that were just appeared in Dead Reckoning, and then Luther's over here. And then it keeps moving like that. I'm not really sure how they're getting, like, they're on the plane and then all of a sudden they're in a village and then Ethan was over here and then he's on a submarine. And it's just like, it's very weird. This movie doesn't fit naturally within its own story. There's no natural progression of point A to point B to point C, getting us to the end of the story. And these problems only became evident in Dead Reckoning and The Final Reckoning, your 7th and 8th franchise or entry in this franchise of 5-6 movies that never had this issue. So it is very, very, very odd to see, and it's very frustrating. Oh, and a little bit of a brief spoiler talk here. You think for a final entry that they would at least mention or even bring back Ilsa because Rebecca Ferguson is like one of the best things of this series? You think they would bring her back because her death was so weird in Dead Reckoning and felt so anticlimactic? But no, not only do they not bring her back in this entry, Ethan and his team, the IMF or whatever, don't even mention Ilsa once in this movie. Like, how... what went down? I know Rebecca Ferguson like wanted out of this franchise, but like, did Tom Cruise take that to heart or something? Because there is not a single mention of her in this movie, you guys, which is insane. So wrapping this up with the verdict, while The Final Reckoning was supposed to be this big send-off for Tom Cruise, hi, buddy. Tom Cruise's character, Ethan Hunt, it really is not that. It falls flat in a lot of places. And while it does come above Dead Reckoning just a little bit, it's still a very, very lackluster entry in the Mission Impossible franchise, unfortunately. Big, amazing action set pieces that look beautiful are not enough to save this very weak narrative, weak characterization, and one of the more weaker entries in the Mission Impossible franchise. So, all that being said, I'm going to give Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning a 6.5 out of 10, the same exact score I gave Dead Reckoning. And all that being said, let me know your thoughts on The Final Reckoning down below in the comments. The movie has been out for a while. You can put all your spoiler thoughts about the film in the comments. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think of my new setup. My move has gone successfully. Knock on wood. I am here. We're all good. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one.